She kissed him under the hotel lights while I watched from my truck. I didn't recognize him at first. When I did, my blood ran cold. That was the night I realized the woman I married never existed. The IRS letter 3 days later proved it. But they forgot something important. Betrayal teaches you lessons. And I was about to become the teacher. My name is Alexander Branson. I'm 46 years old, and for the last 20 years, I've built a reputation as one of the most reliable residential real estate developers in Phoenix, Arizona. Townhomes, apartment complexes, condominiums. If it housed families, I built it. I took pride in that work, real pride, the kind that comes from creating something tangible that lasts. But on that Tuesday evening in late September, pride was the furthest thing from my mind as I sat in my home office, staring at a spreadsheet that refused to balance. Diana, my wife of 12 years, was supposedly at a marketing conference in Scottsdale. She'd left that morning with a rolling suitcase and a distracted kiss on my cheek, her mind already somewhere else. Nothing unusual there. For the past year, her mind was always somewhere else. I rubbed my eyes and checked my watch. 8:30. She texted around 6, saying the keynote ran long, and she'd grabbed dinner with colleagues. Standard stuff. I'd ordered Thai food, eaten alone at the kitchen island, and retreated to my office to review the numbers for our newest project, a 40-unit townhome development in Tempe. That's when my phone buzzed. Not Diana. My project manager, Luis. Alex, you see the email from Riverside Bank. His voice carried that edge he got when problems were brewing. I pulled in my inbox. There it was, sent 20 minutes ago. My stomach dropped as I read. The bank was requesting additional documentation for our construction loan, specifically detailed financials for the past 18 months. Routine, maybe, but the timing felt wrong. They've never asked for this level of detail mid-project, I said, scrolling through the attachment requirements. That's what I thought. You think William missed something in the quarterly reports? William, my second cousin's son, 29 years old, and my company's financial director for the past 3 years. The kid I'd given a second chance to when nobody else would. The kid who owed me everything. I'll check with him tomorrow, I told Luis. Probably just new compliance protocols. But after I hung up, I sat there, staring at my phone. Something gnawed at the edges of my thoughts, something I couldn't quite name. I opened my text thread with Diana. Her last message stared back at me. Dinner running late. Don't wait up. On impulse, I opened the location-sharing app we'd set up years ago, back when she'd asked me to track her during a solo road trip for safety. She'd never turn it off, and neither had I. The blue dot appeared on the map, pulsing steadily. But it wasn't in Scottsdale. It was 12 miles away, at the Phoenician Resort in Paradise Valley, a place we'd celebrated our 5th anniversary, a place that cost $400 a night for the cheapest room. I stared at that dot for a full minute, watching it remain perfectly still. My mind raced through explanations. Maybe the conference relocated. Maybe she was meeting a client. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation for why my wife was at a luxury resort while telling me she was at a business dinner. Maybe. I grabbed my keys and stood up. The Thai food sat heavy in my stomach as I walked to the garage. I wasn't the kind of man who jumped to conclusions. I'd built my business on measured decisions, careful planning, and trusting my instincts only after gathering facts. But right then, every instinct I had was screaming that my carefully constructed life was about to come apart. I drove through the warm Phoenix night, windows down, trying to convince myself I was overreacting. Diana and I had our problems, sure. What couple married for 12 years didn't? We'd grown distant. Our conversations reduced to logistics and schedules. But cheating? Diana was ambitious, calculating, maybe even cold at times, but unfaithful. The Phoenician's entrance glowed like a palace as I pulled into the lot. I parked 3 rows back from the main entrance and killed the engine. For 10 minutes, I sat there, watching guests come and go, trying to talk myself into driving home. Then I saw her. Diana walked out of the main entrance, laughing at something, her hand on the arm of a man in a tailored suit. They stopped under the amber lights, and she looked up at him with an expression I hadn't seen on her face in years. Not happiness exactly. Something sharper. Triumph. The man leaned down and kissed her. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss, the kind that told a story of familiarity and intention. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I expected rage. I expected my vision to go red, to storm out there and confront them both. But what I felt was colder, clearer. I watched them separate. Diana handed her valet ticket to the attendant, and the man walked toward the self-park garage. As he passed under a light, I got a clear look at his face. My blood turned to ice. It was William, my second cousin's son, the kid I'd saved from prison 10 years ago when he'd stolen $75,000 from our company. The kid I'd taken the blame for, lost my contractor's license for 3 years, watched my reputation crumble while he walked free. The kid I'd rebuilt my business to give a second chance. That kid was sleeping with my wife. I didn't confront them. I didn't make a scene. I started my truck, drove home, and walked straight to my office. I opened my laptop and started making a list, calm and methodical. Because if they thought they could destroy me, they'd forgotten one important thing. I'd already been destroyed once and rebuilt myself from nothing. And this time, I knew exactly who my enemies were. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my office until dawn, pulling every financial record I could access remotely. By sunrise, I'd found 3 irregularities in our company accounts, all within the past 6 months. Nothing massive, but enough to make me wonder what else I'd missed while trusting William blindly. Diana came home at 9 the next morning. I heard her car in the driveway, her heels clicking on the hardwood as she walked inside. She found me in the kitchen, coffee in hand, staring at nothing. "You're up early," she said, setting her purse on the counter. Her voice was casual, practiced. She'd had all night to prepare her lies. I looked at her directly. "How long have you been sleeping with William?" The color drained from her face, but she recovered quickly. Too quickly. "What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind? I saw you last night. At the Phoenician. Don't make this worse by lying." She opened her mouth, closed it, then did something I didn't expect. She laughed. Not nervously. Coldly. "Fine. Yes. We've been together for 8 months. And honestly, Alexander, what did you expect? You're married to your business, not to me." The casual cruelty of it stunned me more than the confession itself. 8 months, I repeated. "While he's been working as my financial director. While you've been sleeping in our bed." She shrugged. "You wanted the truth. There it is." I stood, walked past her without another word, and went upstairs. She called after me, but I didn't stop. In my office, I pulled out my phone and opened a contact I'd been thinking about since last night. Grace Holloway, Diana's former best friend from college. The woman Diana had destroyed 7 years ago with rumors and lies when Grace had called out Diana's manipulative behavior. The woman Diana had forbidden me from ever contacting. The woman whose name made Diana's jaw clench with pure hatred. I typed out a message. "Diana's cheating on me with my cousin's son. I need help figuring out what else they're hiding. Can we talk?" The reply came 30 seconds later. "I've been waiting for this call for 7 years. Send me your address. I'll be there in an hour." When Grace arrived, I barely recognized her. The soft-spoken woman I'd met at our wedding had been replaced by someone sharper, more confident. She stood on my doorstep in dark jeans and a leather jacket, her auburn hair pulled back, eyes assessing me with professional intensity. "You look like hell," she said, stepping inside. "Thanks for coming." She set down a leather messenger bag. "Before we start, you should know something. I'm not just an artist anymore. I'm a licensed private investigator. Have been for 5 years. She met my eyes. "And I'm going to tell you something I should have said at your wedding. I've been in love with you since the day Diana introduced us." She knew it, and that's part of why she destroyed our friendship. The room tilted slightly. "Grace, I'm not telling you this to complicate things," she interrupted. "I'm telling you because if we're going to take Diana down, you need to know where I stand. I want to help you, not just because I hate what she did to me, but because you deserve better than what she's given you." I stared at this woman I barely knew, but somehow felt I'd been waiting for. "Then let's get started." I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my office and pulled up files I hadn't looked at in 10 years. Bank statements, legal documents, newspaper articles. Evidence of the biggest mistake I'd ever made. Thinking loyalty to family meant more than protecting myself. It was 2014. I'd just completed my first major apartment complex in Chandler, a 32-unit building that put my company on the map. William had been working for me for 6 months as a junior project coordinator, fresh out of college with a business degree and his father Frank's recommendation ringing in my ears. "Give the kid a shot, Alex. He's had it rough." needs someone to believe in him. So I believed. And William repaid that belief by siphoning $75,000 from our operating account over 4 months, using falsified invoices from subcontractors who didn't exist. He'd gotten greedy, started buying a new car, designer clothes, taking trips to Vegas. The kind of stupid mistakes that always get caught. When our accountant flagged the discrepancies, I confronted William in my office. He'd broken down, confessed everything, begged me not to tell his father. Frank had just survived a heart attack. The stress would kill him, William said. His mother had already lost one son to an overdose 3 years earlier. This would destroy what was left of their family. I was 36 years old, ambitious, and stupid enough to think I could fix it quietly. I went to the board, told them I'd made the transfers for a side investment that fell through. Took full responsibility. The board didn't buy it completely, but they couldn't prove otherwise. What they could do was suspend my contractor's license pending investigation. 3 years I couldn't bid on projects, couldn't develop new properties, watch my business nearly collapse. My clients abandoned me. Banks wouldn't touch me. I had to sell my house, downsize everything, work as a construction manager for someone else just to keep food on the table. Diana, who I'd been dating for 2 years, almost left. Almost. She stayed, and I thought that meant something. William walked away clean. Got a job in California. Sent me an email once saying he was getting his life together and thanking me for the second chance. When he came back to Phoenix 3 years ago, license reinstated, business slowly rebuilding, he showed up in my office with his tail between his legs. Said he'd matured, wanted to make amends, asked if I'd give him another shot. Frank called me personally. Alex, he's changed. He's been clean, working hard. He wants to prove himself to you. So I hired him. Made him financial director. Gave him access to everything because I'm an idiot who thought people could actually change, that blood meant something, that the debt he owed me would be enough to keep him honest. Now, sitting in my office at 2 in the morning, I pulled up our current company financials. Started going through every transaction William had processed in the past 6 months. It took 3 hours, but I found it. $73,000. Moved in small increments to an LLC I didn't recognize. Buried in legitimate transfers, disguised as payments to various contractors. Same pattern as before, just more sophisticated. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. He'd done it again. Stolen from me again. And this time, he was sleeping with my wife while doing it. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace, the woman I'd messaged the night before. Diana's ex-best friend. The one whose name made my wife's face go hard whenever it came up. I can meet you tomorrow, 2 p.m. My office. Come alone. I typed back. I'll be there. Then I opened a new document and started writing. Every detail, every transaction, every moment from the past 10 years. Because this time, I wasn't taking the fall for anyone. This time, I was going to burn it all down and watch them scramble in the ashes. Grace Hartwell's office sat above an art gallery in downtown Phoenix. A converted loft with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked Roosevelt Row. I'd never been here before, never had reason to. Diana had made sure of that. The two women had been inseparable once, college roommates who'd stayed close for years after graduation. Then something happened, something Diana never fully explained. All she'd say was that Grace had betrayed her trust and tried to sabotage her career. She'd forbidden me from having any contact with Grace, and like the dutiful husband I was, I'd obeyed. Now, climbing the stairs to that loft, I wondered what I'd missed by following orders. Grace opened the door before I could knock. She was 36, same age as Diana, but the resemblance ended there. Where Diana was polished and calculated, Grace was sharp and direct. Dark hair pulled back, minimal makeup, wearing jeans and a blazer like she had better things to do than impress anyone. Alexander Branson, she said, studying my face. You look exactly like your LinkedIn photo. Come in. The office was part workspace, part surveillance center. Multiple monitors, filing cabinets, a wall covered in what looked like caseboards. I must have stared because Grace smiled. I'm a private investigator, she said, pouring 2 glasses of water from a pitcher, specializing in corporate fraud and infidelity cases. Surprised. Diana never mentioned what you did for work. Diana doesn't know. She thinks I'm still working in graphic design, which is what I did when we were friends. Grace handed me a glass. But after she destroyed my reputation and cost me my job 12 years ago, I decided to learn how to fight back professionally. Got my license, built a business helping people who've been screwed over by people they trusted. I sat down in the chair across from her desk. What happened between you two? Grace leaned against her desk, arms crossed. Long story short, I dated a guy in college. Diana decided she wanted him, slept with him, then told everyone I tried to steal him from her. Weaponized our entire friend group against me. I lost my job at the marketing firm we both worked at because she convinced the partners I was unstable and vindictive. The pattern fit. Diana always needed to win, to control the narrative. Why help me now? I asked. Something flickered across Grace's face. Because I've been waiting 10 years for the chance to prove what she really is. And because... She paused. Because I tried to warn you before your wedding. Sent you an email laying out everything she'd done to me, begging you to reconsider. You never responded. I had no memory of that email. But then again, Diana had access to my accounts back then. Had she deleted it? I didn't see it, I said quietly. Grace nodded slowly. I figured. She's good at controlling information flow. She moved to her desk, pulled out a folder. You said you think she's cheating. With who? My second cousin's son, William Branson, 29, works as my company's financial director. Grace's expression didn't change, but she wrote the name down. The kid you took the fall for 10 years ago. I stared at her. How do you know about that? Because Diana bragged about it to me once, before we stopped speaking. Said you were useful because you'd sacrifice yourself for family. She called it your exploitable weakness. Grace looked up from her notes. Tell me everything. So I did. The hotel, the kiss, William's history, the missing money I just discovered. Grace listened without interrupting, taking notes, her expression growing darker. When I finished, she set down her pen. Alexander, this isn't just an affair. This is a long-term operation. What do you mean? She pulled out her laptop, typed rapidly. Give me William's full name and date of birth. I did. She ran some kind of search, and her screen filled with information. Social media, public records, financial databases I didn't recognize. Here, she said, turning the laptop toward me. William and Diana are friends on Facebook. Have been for 11 years. Their first interaction is 3 months before you two started dating. My blood went cold. Grace pulled up more screens. Photos, timeline posts, tag locations. They knew each other before you met her, Alex. She didn't randomly fall for your employee. She targeted you through him. The room tilted slightly. That's not possible. Look at this. Grace pointed to a photo from 2012. Diana and William at some college party, his arm around her shoulders, both laughing. This is a year before you met Diana at that real estate conference, right? I nodded, numb. She played you from day one. Got close to you, married you, then brought William into your company 3 years ago when your business was stable enough to be worth stealing. Grace's voice was gentle but firm. I'm sorry, but you need to hear this. They've been planning this for over a decade. I stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the street below. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage, my life, was a lie built on lies. There's more, Grace said behind me. If they've been planning this long, the affair is just part of it. They're after something bigger. I turned back to her. My company. And possibly setting you up to take another fall. She pulled up another document. I need to dig deeper, but if William's stealing again and Diana's involved, they might be building a case to make you look incompetent or criminal. Push you out, take control of the assets. The rage that had been cold in my chest turned to ice. Clear, focused ice. Can you prove it? I asked. Grace smiled, and for the first time, I saw why Diana had been so desperate to erase this woman from her life. Alex, proving things is what I do. Give me 72 hours and full access to your company records. I pulled out my phone and started forwarding her everything. Because if they wanted to destroy me, they'd just made a critical mistake. They'd forgotten I had nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Grace called at 6 in the morning, 3 days after I'd given her full access to my company records. Alex, we have a serious problem. Get to my office right now. 20 minutes later, I walked into her loft. Papers covered her desk. 3 monitors displayed spreadsheets and legal documents. Sit, she said, pouring coffee with shaking hands. This is worse than I thought. She slid a document across. IRS letterhead. My stomach dropped. Preliminary audit notice. I read aloud. Tax evasion. $380,000 in unreported income. William's been filing false tax returns in your name for 3 years, Grace said. He creates phantom income from fake overseas investments, consulting fees that don't exist. You sign clean documents. He submits altered versions to the IRS. I stare at the letter. He's framing me for federal crimes. Gets better. Look at this. She turned her laptop toward me, showing an email from William to Diana. The IRS package is ready. Once they audit him, everything falls apart. You file for divorce, claim ignorance. I testify I warned you. Father backs us up. Alex goes to prison. We split everything. My blood froze. Frank's involved. At minimum, he knows. Grace pulled up more documents. I can prove William altered the filings. Metadata shows modifications from his computer after you signed. But Alex, the IRS won't care initially. They'll investigate you first, freeze your accounts, possibly charge you. Even proving William did it takes time. How long? 2 weeks minimum to build an airtight defense. Meanwhile, your business suffers, clients leave, banks freeze credit. You'll be destroyed publicly before we clear you. I thought about everything I'd rebuilt after the first disaster. What's the alternative? Grace's expression hardened. We set a trap. Make them think they've won. Get them to confess on record, then hand everything to the FBI before the IRS formally charges you. Ow! You contact Diana. Sound broken, desperate, willing to negotiate anything to avoid prison. Schedule a meeting to discuss settlement. I'll wire you up, record everything. They'll get cocky, lay out their whole plan. Then we take it straight to federal investigators. I looked at the IRS notice again. Prison. Bankruptcy. Losing everything because I trusted family. Tell me what to do, I said. Grace started explaining the plan, and for the first time in weeks, I felt ready to fight back. The Riverside Bank meeting was Thursday at 2. They'd requested me, William as financial director, and Diana as my spouse on company documents. Grace had wired me that morning. The FBI was monitoring from a van 2 blocks away. I arrived early, wearing my best suit. Diana waited in the lobby, cream pantsuit, neutral expression. Alexander, we should talk first, she said. After, I said, walking past her. William arrived at 2 precisely, leather portfolio in hand. Uncle Alex, he said, extending his hand. I shook it briefly. The bank representatives were seated. Margaret from Commercial Lending, her assistant, their legal counsel. Mr. Branson, we've received concerning information about tax irregularities affecting your loan security, Margaret said. I showed confusion. Tax irregularities? I'm not aware of any issues. William leaned forward. Uncle Alex, I sent you multiple emails about offshore account discrepancies. I don't have offshore accounts, I said firmly. Diana touched my arm. Honey, you've been under stress. Maybe we should discuss this privately. I pulled away. I'm not stressed. I'm confused. Margaret cleared her throat. The IRS contacted us about an audit. Significant unreported income potentially constituting fraud. William's face flickered with satisfaction before concern masked it. That's impossible, I said, voice rising. William handles all tax filings. And I tried warning you about irregularities, William said smoothly. Diana can confirm my concerns about your financial decisions. Diana nodded. He expressed serious worries multiple times. The setup was complete. Me as criminal, them as concerned family. I stood. I need to make a call. Outside, I texted Grace, go. Her reply done. FBI has everything. I returned, sat down. I've contacted my attorney. Every tax filing was handled by William Branson. Every offshore account was created without my knowledge. William's expression flickered. Uncle Alex, you need rest. Let's postpone. I know everything. I interrupted. The affair. The embezzlement. The tax fraud. All of it. Silence. Diana recovered. These accusations are recorded, I said. Every conversation planning this. Every email. Every altered document. The FBI received everything 5 minutes ago. I played audio on my phone. William's voice. The IRS package is ready. Once they audit him, everything falls apart. Diana's hand shook. Where did you? Grace Hartwell recovered it. She's documented your 11-year con since 2012, before you pretended to meet me. William stood. You can't prove. Digital forensics can. Every edited document shows modifications from your computer after I signed originals. Time-stamped, IP logged. The bank representative stared. 11 years, I said quietly. You married me, brought William in, planned to send me to prison while stealing everything. Diana grabbed her purse. I don't have to. The FBI's waiting outside for questions about wire fraud, tax fraud, and conspiracy. William tried leaving. The bank's lawyer blocked the door. The door opened. 2 FBI agents entered. William Branson, Diana Branson, come with us for questioning. I walked past them to Grace waiting outside. Clean recording? I asked. Perfect. They're done, Alex. I looked back where agents read them their rights, then walked into the Phoenix afternoon. Behind me, my old life ended in handcuffs. Ahead, everything was possible. The call from Frank came 3 hours after the FBI took William and Diana into custody. I was back at Grace's office, watching her compile additional evidence for federal prosecutors, when my phone lit up with his name. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Alex. Frank's voice was rough. Age beyond his 52 years. We need to talk. Face to face. Now. I have nothing to say to you, Frank. Please. Just one conversation. I'm at the house. Your house. I need to explain. I looked at Grace. She nodded, mouthing the word record. I'll be there in 20 minutes, I said, activating my phone's recording app. Frank was sitting on my front porch when I arrived, looking 10 years older than the last time I'd seen him at a family barbecue 3 months ago. His hand shook as he stood. Alex, thank God. Listen, this whole thing with William, it's gotten out of control. You need to drop the charges, work this out as family. I stayed on the walkway, keeping distance between us. Work it out. Your son tried to send me to federal prison, Frank. He stole from me twice, slept with my wife, and framed me for crimes he committed. He made mistakes, I know that. But he's my son, Alex. My only son. You remember what happened to Tommy, how we lost him to that overdose. William's all I have left. If he goes to prison, it'll kill his mother. It'll kill me. The manipulation was so transparent, it was almost insulting. You knew, didn't you? About the whole plan. Frank's face crumbled. Not everything. Not at first. William came to me 6 months ago, said he'd found some irregularities in your books, asked if I thought you might be hiding assets. I told him family doesn't spy on family. But then he showed me documents, bank statements, and He trailed off. You believed him over me. He's my son, Alex. What was I supposed to do? And after everything you put him through 10 years ago, everything I put him through, my voice went cold. I took the fall for his crime. I lost my license, my reputation, my business. I saved him from prison, and you think I'm the one who wronged him. Frank's jaw tightened. You could have handled it differently. Gone to me first, let me deal with it privately. Instead, you made this big sacrifice, held it over his head for a decade, made him feel like he owed you everything. He did owe me everything, and he repaid me by stealing again and trying to frame me. Because you wouldn't let him forget. Every family gathering, every conversation, there was this unspoken debt. You turned my son into your servant, Alex. Gave him just enough rope to hang himself. I stared at my cousin, this man I'd grown up with, played Little League with, stood beside at his wedding. Is that what you really think? That I manipulated William into destroying me? I think you created a situation where my son felt trapped. And yes, he made bad choices trying to escape that trap. But you're not innocent here either. The anger that had been simmering finally broke through. Let me be very clear, Frank. William stole $75,000 10 years ago. I could have let him go to prison. Instead, I sacrificed everything to save him. When he came back 3 years ago asking for another chance, I gave it to him. No conditions, no debt hanging over his head. I paid him well, trusted him with my company's finances, treated him like family. You treated him like an employee you owned, Frank shot back. And he treated me like a mark to be conned. He and Diana planned this for 11 years, Frank. 11 years. She targeted me specifically because William told her about his rich cousin who'd saved him. They got married to me, brought him into my company, and systematically planned to steal everything while framing me for federal crimes. That's not a man feeling trapped. That's a criminal and his accomplice. Frank's face went red. You watch your mouth about my son. Or what? I stepped closer. You'll threaten me? Defend him? He's already confessed, Frank. The FBI has recordings of him and Diana laying out the entire scheme. He's going to prison, and there's nothing you or I can do about it now. Then don't testify against him, Frank said desperately. At sentencing, tell the judge he deserves leniency. Tell them about the family connection, the stress, anything. You still have that power. Why would I do that? Because I'm begging you. Because we're family. Because I stood by you when your parents died, when you were building your first company. I was there, Alex. That has to count for something. I looked at this man who'd once been like a brother to me. You were there. Past tense. But the moment William needed defending, you chose to believe I was the villain. You didn't call me, didn't ask my side. You just accepted that I was corrupt, and he was the victim. I'm asking now, Frank said, his voice breaking. I'm asking you to show mercy. For me. For his mother. For the family we used to be. I pulled out my phone, stopped the recording, and sent it to Grace with a single text. More evidence of conspiracy awareness. Then I looked Frank straight in the eye. Here's what I'm going to do, Frank. I'm going to testify truthfully about everything William did. Every theft, every lie, every piece of fraud. I'm going to make sure the judge knows exactly who he is and what he's done. And then I'm going to walk away from this family and never look back. Alex, please. You want to talk about family? Family doesn't frame you for crimes. Family doesn't sleep with your wife. Family doesn't steal from you twice and then play the victim when they get caught. William made his choices, and now he lives with the consequences. I turned toward my truck. If you do this, you're dead to me, Frank called after me. Dead to the whole family. We'll never speak to you again. I stopped, looked back. Frank, you stopped being my family the moment you chose to believe your criminal son over me. This conversation, it's just making it official. I drove away, watching him shrink in my rearview mirror, and I felt nothing but relief. Grace was waiting when I got back to her office, already reviewing the recording I'd sent. Frank knew more than he's admitting, she said, pulling up email records on her screen. Look at this. William sent him detailed updates about the tax fraud scheme 3 months ago. Frank responded with advice on how to make it more convincing. I leaned over her shoulder, reading the exchange. My stomach turned. He's been complicit from the beginning, I said quietly. Not just complicit, active. He suggested William create the offshore accounts, recommended timing the IRS report for maximum damage to your business. Frank wasn't a bystander, Alex. He was a co-conspirator. I sat down hard. Can we prove it? The emails are enough for the FBI to investigate him separately. I've already forwarded everything to Agent Rodriguez. Frank could be facing charges himself. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered on speaker. Mr. Branson, this is Jennifer Keating from Valley Legal Group. I represent your wife Diana in her divorce proceedings. I glanced at Grace, who started recording. Go ahead. Mrs. Branson is willing to settle quickly and amicably. She's requesting 50% of all marital assets, including the business, the house, and retirement accounts. In exchange, she'll waive alimony and agree to a no-fault divorce. I almost laughed. Your client is currently in FBI custody for conspiracy to commit fraud. She's getting nothing. Mr. Branson, I understand emotions are high, but California is a community property state. Regardless of these accusations, which I'm confident will be proven false, Diana is entitled to half of everything acquired during the marriage. Everything acquired during the marriage was acquired through my work while she was planning to destroy me, I said. And those aren't accusations. They're recorded confessions that your client made to federal investigators. A pause. I haven't been informed of any confession. Then call your client and ask her about the conversation she had with William at Riverside Bank yesterday. The one where they detailed their 11-year plan to frame me for tax fraud. The FBI has video and audio. Longer pause. I'll need to speak with Mrs. Branson and get back to you. You do that. And tell her the only settlement she's getting is whatever commissary money someone sends her in prison. I hung up. Grace was grinning. You're getting good at this. I'm getting tired of people trying to steal from me, I said. What's the timeline on Diana's charges? Federal prosecutor is moving fast. They're building charges for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, tax fraud, and identity theft. Diana's looking at the same sentence as William, maybe longer since she's older, and they can argue she masterminded it. How long? 5 to 7 years minimum. Could be more with aggravating factors. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is William. Please. I'll testify against Diana. Give you everything back, whatever you want. Just ask the prosecutor for leniency. I can't go to prison. Please. I show Grace. Classic, she said. Rat's abandoning ship. He'll say anything now to save himself. I type back. You had 11 years to do the right thing. You chose crime. Live with it. I blocked the number. Grace pulled up another file. There's something else you should know. That second woman William was seeing, the college student, her name's Ashley Monroe, 25, finance major at ASU. I tracked her down yesterday, and she had no idea William was married to Diana. Thought he was single, successful, everything he pretended to be. When I showed her proof of everything, she broke down. But here's the interesting part. William told her about a business deal he was working on. Said he was about to come into a lot of money, enough to set them up for life. He was counting his chickens, I said. More than that. He'd already rented them a condo in Scottsdale. Signed a lease starting next month. First and last month paid. $4,200 a month for a luxury place with a view. I shook my head. He was that confident. He was that arrogant. Ashley agreed to testify about everything William told her. The timeline, the promises, all of it. It establishes premeditation and shows he was actively planning to benefit from your destruction. Will it help the case? Immensely. It proves this wasn't a crime of opportunity. It was calculated, long-term, and he was already spending money he planned to steal. Grace closed her laptop. Alex, I need to ask you something. Diana's going to prison. William's going to prison. Your company's reputation took a hit. Are you okay? I thought about it. Really thought about it. You know what? Yeah, I am. Because for the first time in 12 years, I'm not living a lie. My wife isn't someone else's accomplice. My employee isn't robbing me blind. My family isn't pretending to support me while plotting against me. It's all out in the open now. And what about us? Grace asked quietly. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd helped me when she had every reason to stay away, who'd fought for me when no one else would. I meant what I said to Diana. I told her. I got even by being with the one woman she hated most. But that's not why I'm here now. I'm here because you're real, Grace. You're honest. And after 11 years of lies, that means everything. She smiled. Good answer. My phone buzzed. Text from Agent Rodriguez. Frank Branson in custody. Conspiracy charges filed. Thought you want to know. I show Grace. Your whole family? She asked. My whole fake family. I corrected. My real life starts now. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Every day, I sat in that courtroom and watched Diana and William try to spin their lies into something believable. Their lawyers argued stress, misunderstandings, miscommunications. But the evidence was overwhelming. The turning point came when Ashley Monroe took the stand. 25, finance major. The girl William had promised a future to while planning my destruction. She testified about the luxury condo he'd rented, the promises he'd made, the timeline that perfectly matched his scheme to steal my company. He told me his uncle was retiring and leaving him the business. Ashley said, her voice steady despite tears. Said we'd be set for life by Christmas. I had no idea he was married. No idea about any of this. Diana's face went white when the prosecutor showed photos of William and Ashley together. The mask finally shattered completely. During a recess, Grace and I stood in the hallway. That's when Diana approached, her lawyer trailing behind nervously. Alexander, please, she said, her voice stripped of its usual control. Can we talk? Privately. Grace started to object, but I held up my hand. 2 minutes. Diana's lawyer stepped away. Grace stayed close, watching. I'll testify against William, Diana said quickly. Give you everything in the divorce. Sign away all claims to the business. Just ask the prosecutor to reduce my charges. Why would I do that? Because this was William's plan, not mine. He manipulated me too. I was a victim. Stop, I said quietly. I've heard you lie for 12 years. I know what it sounds like. You weren't a victim. You were a predator who got caught. Her expression hardened. You're really going to do this? Destroy the woman you claim to love. I loved a woman who never existed. You were just playing a role. And now what? You run off with Grace, the woman I hated most, and pretend that's not revenge. Her voice rose. Everyone's talking about it, you know. How convenient that the moment we split, you're suddenly with her. You think that doesn't make you look pathetic? Grace stepped forward. Actually, it makes him look smart. He traded a fraud for something real. Diana laughed bitterly. Real? She's using you just like I did, Alexander. Can't you see that? She's been waiting years for this chance. The difference, I said calmly, is Grace helped me when she had nothing to gain. She fought for me when you were planning my destruction. She's been honest when you've been a lie. So yeah, I got even by being with the one woman you hated most. And you should have seen everyone's reaction when we walked into that courtroom together. Your face alone was worth everything. Diana's hand shook. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is the time I wasted believing you were human. I walked away with Grace, leaving Diana standing there, finally powerless. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. William got 6 years federal prison. Diana got 5.5. Frank got 3 years for conspiracy. Standing outside the courthouse, Grace squeezed my hand. How do you feel? She asked. Free, I said. For the first time in 12 years, completely free. My phone buzzed. My attorney. Diana's lawyer officially withdrew the asset claim. You keep everything. Divorce will be final in 30 days. I showed Grace. So what now? She asked. Now we build something real, I said. The Tempe project's back on track. The bank unfroze the loan. I've got 3 new clients interested in developments. The company's stronger than ever. I'm in us, Grace said quietly. I pulled her close. Us too. Build something real there too. She smiled. I'd like that. We walked to my truck, and I felt the weight of 12 years finally lift. Behind me, Diana was being led to a transport van in handcuffs. Ahead of me, everything was possible. 14 months later, I stood in the completed Tempe townhome development, watching families move into units I'd built from the ground up. 40 units, all sold, all occupied. The project that had nearly died because of William's fraud was now my biggest success. Grace walked up beside me, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the new cafe that had opened in the development's commercial space. Looks good, she said, handing me a cup. Looks like a future, I replied. The past year had been a rebuild in every sense. The company had survived the scandal, partly because I'd been vindicated so publicly, partly because Grace's investigation work had proven beyond doubt that I'd been the victim. Clients who'd left came back. New ones appeared, attracted by the story of the developer who'd fought back and won. William was in federal prison in California. I'd heard through family gossip he'd tried to appeal, claimed his lawyer was ineffective. It went nowhere. Diana was in a women's facility in Arizona. Her commissary account, I'd been told, was funded by her sister. Not me. Never me. Frank had served 8 months before being released on parole. He tried to contact me once, a letter forwarded through my attorney. I'd burned it without reading it. Some bridges, once destroyed, shouldn't be rebuilt. Grace and I had taken things slowly at first. 2 people who'd both been betrayed, both rebuilding, both cautious, but slowly became surely. 3 months ago, she'd moved some of her things into my house. Not all of them, just enough to say this was real. This was happening. This was worth the risk. I've been thinking, Grace said, watching a family carry boxes into Unit 24, about expanding my business, opening a second office, maybe bringing on a partner. Yeah. There are a lot of people out there being conned by people they trust. I want to help more of them. I looked at her. You're good at what you do. I had a good teacher. Watching Diana and William operate taught me every trick in the book. She paused. Also, I got a call from Ashley Monroe yesterday. William's ex-girlfriend. Former victim of his manipulation, Grace corrected. She's changing her major to criminal justice. Wants to work in fraud investigation. Asked if I'd mentor her. That's good. She deserves a second chance at life without him. We all do, Grace said softly. My phone rang. My project manager, Luis. Alex, the Paradise Valley project just got approved. City Council voted unanimously. We're clear to break ground next month. I smiled. That's great news. Set up a meeting for Monday. We'll go over timelines. After I hung up, Grace raised her coffee cup. To new beginnings. To earn beginnings, I corrected, touching my cup to hers. Nothing worth having comes easy. We stood there as the sun set over Phoenix, painting the sky orange and gold. The city where I'd been born, where I'd built my first company, where I'd been destroyed and rebuilt twice. The city where I'd finally learned the difference between family and loyalty, between love and manipulation, between what I deserved and what I'd been willing to accept. You know what the best part is? I said a grace. What? Diana spent 11 years planning to take everything from me. And in the end, she gave me everything I actually needed. She removed herself from my life, exposed everyone who was using me, and led me to someone who actually gives a damn. Grace smiled. So in a way, you should thank her. Nah, I'll just live well. That's better revenge than any thank you. We walked back to my truck, passing families who'd chosen to build their lives in something I'd created. Something real, something solid, something that would last. 18 months ago, I'd sat in my office staring at my wife's location on a map, feeling my world collapse. Now, I stood in the future I'd built from the rubble, and it was better than anything I'd lost.